Flameheart is resurrected and Season 8 just released. The hype for Sea of Thieves is at a high tide right now, and players both old and new are diving into the waves to experience new ways to send people to Davy Jones. But does this update give us the PvP fix we need, or will it make us miss Arena even more? Let's find out. And let's subscribe, let's do that right now. So as you have heard by now, this season is all about PvP. We do get some new areas to explore, but if you are mainly a PvEer, this update isn't really for you. And that's fine, not every season needs to cater to all players. But how does it all work? Well, there are two new factions, the Guardians of Fortune and the Servants of the Flame. First, I thought it would be better to put this reputation behind both Athena and Reapers, since they are obviously extensions to those factions. But since most of the reputation is gained through solely PvP and interacting with the new content, I totally understand this choice. And come on, it feels great to level up from scratch again. However, that doesn't change the fact that the menus and progression pages desperately need an overhaul at this point, since it seems to get messier with each season. Also, I'm talking about reputation, but it's actually called gaining allegiance. So how do we gain this? Well, it's all pretty easy. You interact with the Hourglass on your captain's table. You decide which faction you want to support, and after voting you are representing that faction. At that moment you can get invaded by rival ships, or you can vote again on the war map to dive below to directly start a battle on another server. This system works really well. So far I've only fought in galleon battles, and the loading times were almost always instantaneous. There was one time we had to wait for a while and I felt the annoyance bubbling up, but let's be fair, at the moment the loading times aren't really a problem. I also love the scenery. We see megalodons, ancient structures, shipwrecks, and even the occasional kraken. They could have easily made some loading screens, but Rare went the extra mile again, and that's one of the many reasons why I love this company. After sinking an enemy's ship, your streak counter goes up while also increasing the value of your Hourglass. When you get a streak of 4, you will be visible for all players on the map, and you can even choose to fight bigger ships than yours. But be warned, if you sink, you lose all your progress. You still get some allegiance and your commendations count, but you can say goodbye to any gold you were working on. And since the value of these hourglasses can get pretty high, this can create tense high risk, high reward scenarios. You can also bring treasure on your ship to increase your stack bonus, but this is mainly there to give you a little extra rep. In our experiences, this wasn't really worth it. You can pretty much ignore this function if you're going for your streaks. We also did a Legend of the Veil voyage while choosing to get invaded. And even though we did sink ships from other factions during that session, we didn't get invaded at all. Which was a shame, but it's a bit unfair to only go by this one experience. The battles we had while invading ourselves were some of the best we had in years. It seems you are matched with players of similar skill levels, and boy, it shows. Fights were intense, and even if we did get some easy sinks now and then, most of us were playing our A game, and this felt great. I also really appreciated all the GGs after each fight, and I hope this sets a template for the future. We also encountered other ships on the server fighting each other, and we were able to sail into their circle and turn the tide for one of the ships. On one hand, this is great, but it's also pretty unfair for that one sloop we sunk. You could say that's just the nature of adventure, but I can understand losing your streak because a sweaty galleon just happened to sail past your battle isn't really what you signed up for. Another issue I have found is balancing and getting supplies. Not every ship has the same supplies, and even though this can be really fun, like having certain cursed cannonballs that the other ship doesn't have, it is a slight annoyance to restock your ship after a loss. And you need to do this because these fights can get really draining, especially when both crews are experienced. Sadly, you spawn at random islands and not always near an outpost when you sink. Restocking sucks, And even if we can now buy our supplies, a system that would give you at least arena supplies when you dive down would have been nice. This way you can get straight into PvP and keep the flow going. Overall, this is just a minor complaint and I haven't found anything yet to really get upset about. So we also have new areas to explore. Both the Reaper's hideout and the Legendary hideout get their much needed expansion. To access these areas you need to get to level 100 in the new factions. This means both old and new players have a lot of playing to do before they unlock their new rewards, and this is great. It was a memorable experience to get to Pirate Legend and get access to the hideout, and this is the same, only we get to do it twice. Sadly, since I'm doing my review at the beginning of this season, I cannot really give you a tour of these new hideouts, but I have heard there are also some new curses attached to this, including the much anticipated Skeleton Curse. There is even this Gravedigger character where you can customize your bony remains. Sadly, the same thing doesn't apply to Athena's Fortune. It's just green or gold ghost, and neither are appealing to me. But let's review something I can talk about: the new Commendations. I love good Commendations, and these not only encourage you to get into PvP, but to also go for that high risk, high reward. There are some annoying ones, like the ones that require you to do certain tasks while also wearing either the Skeleton Curse or the Ghost Curse. Nothing too impossible, with the exception of getting a streak of 10 wins, which might be rather hard. But since you only need to get this once for each faction, I'm sure I give it my all to 100% all my Commendations yet again. And also, where is my fucking checkmark rare? Normally when completing Commendations you get this nice checkmark, but this still hasn't appeared for the ones I already completed with these new factions. So please add these rare, I want it to look nice. The milestones are pretty much what you expect, and even if the furniture rewards are just some reskins, the trinkets do look very nice, like the cross blades and some of the new paintings. But I have to say, trinket 2211BR Captaincy Cosmetic PL Shield Rare Trinket name has to be my favorite. So let's go to the other new additions. There are new hair options at the regular clothing shops. They look great, but keep in mind that some of them are attached to Commendations. We have new figureheads for progression through the new factions. Some players might really like these, but I'm not one of them. Cursed cannonballs have been balanced. They now appear less frequently, the effect time of green cannonballs is reduced, and players can now only carry 5 of them at a time. Also, cannonball crates of the Damned now only contain 1 Wraith Ball, which I think is fair, while also being less fun. Wreckers now appear at shipwrecks while on lost ship and voyages and shipwreck graveyards as part of the Legend of the Veil voyage. This might not mean a lot to most, but it's great for someone who is grinding all the fishing milestones, which I may or may not be doing at this very moment. Another thing that pleases me greatly is that we are now able to turn in Reaper flags at the Mysterious Stranger. This is great if you are aligned with the Guardians of Athena, but also outside of it. Often I can't be bothered to sail to the Reaper's hideout, so it's just convenient to get rid of these flags at any outpost. Next month we get new emissary rewards, which is always nice, but after unlocking the ship and weapon cosmetics, I feel myself less motivated to get these new rewards. But you know, I'm still going to get them. The seasonal rewards are pretty decent, with the highlight being Flameheart's head and Cutlass, even though these should have been rewards for progressing in the new Servants of the Flame faction. I'm not the biggest fan of the Plunder Pass rewards, but you will earn 750 ancient coins for completing this. The Season 8 trader made it seem like 1000, but that's only if you add the 250 ancient coins from the normal seasonal progression. Still, if you find this good value, you should totally go for it. There's also some new stuff in the Emporium, but the only thing I care about is the Nightwolf costume and the rare trinkets. The latter being a nod to their Nintendo days when the company was called Rareware instead of just Rare. And since we also got Spinal last month, I'm hoping there is still more stuff to come. And finally, The wilds are changing. Green vegetation and blue skies have been spotted at several islands, which is a great tease to whatever is coming. Personally, I wouldn't mind the wilds getting a bit more color, but it might just be temporary. There is no way of telling right now. Either way, it does feel really exciting. So, is this a good update? Yes, it is. Ever since Arena slowed down, players wanted that PvP fix. Granted, it's still there in Adventure, but battles were too few and far between, and the ones you did get were not always equally matched. This new system solves all of this while also giving us a bunch of new rewards to aim for. I did wish there was some more story attached to this, like all of the sudden there is this battle for the Sea of Thieves, but it's not really explained. And yes, I know this season was delayed and the past adventure would have been after the release of this season, so I guess they did have some story planned, but had to change it. Either way, this is just a minor complaint. My biggest concern is the longevity of this system. Arena didn't really get the updates it needed, so I hope this system does. At the moment we have plenty to grind for, but it would be really appreciated if we would get some events attached to the system in the future. Also, I wish we would earn a bit more gold for fighting these battles. Yeah, that Hourglass can get pretty valuable, but that's only if you manage to cash it in. Just some gold to compensate us for all the supplies we are buying would be nice. But hey, maybe I'm too Dutch to ask for this. But yeah, that's it for now. If this review didn't satisfy you, you can always tune into our next podcast episode where we will discuss this season even further. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you have fun with this update and I will see you in the next video. Take care.